Hello, folks. Pops here from ILWPOD, and it's time for another wrestling history lesson. It is Sunday, November 9th, 2025, and now it is time to go way back into time. We're going to go all the way back to 1956. Luthez wins the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in St. Louis, Missouri. Fez defeated Whipper Billy Watson via countout to regain the title. I can't believe that you could win the title back then via on a countout. 1975, we're going to jump ahead to 1975. Terry Funk wins the vacant NWA United States Heavyweight Championship at the Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. Funk defeated Paul Jones in the final of the tournament for the vacant NWA US title. The title had been vacated by Johnny Valentine, and the reason why Johnny Valentine had to vacate the title was on October 4th of that year. Valentine, along with Ric Flair, David Crockett, Bob Berger, Tim Woods, were in a plane crash while approaching the Wilmington airport on its way to Charlotte, North Carolina. Valentine suffered a career-ending back injury, which forced him to forfeit the title and gave Terry Funk the opportunity to win this tournament. At this point, we're going to skip on ahead to 1985. WWF TV tapings. Hillbilly Jim and Uncle Elmer defeated Daryl Bolin and Joe Maruto. Big John Studd with Bobby the Brain Heenan and King Kong Bundy defeated Sal G. The British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid, defeated Mr. X and the Menace. 1986. We're going to go to 1986. We're going to go down to the Mid-South Territory, or at this time known as the UWF. We're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Bill Watts' territory. Terry Gordy had suffered an injury and had to forfeit the UWF World Heavyweight Championship, at which time George Gray, the one-man gang, was awarded the title and would go on to be the UWF champion. Now we're here, 1997, the big day. Probably one of the most infamous days in wrestling history. Survivor Series. The Molson Center, Montreal, Canada. One of the most infamous moments in WWE history. And this is, of course, the infamous screw job. Bret screwed Bret. Vince screwed Bret. As we all know, Bret and Shawn Michaels had a match. At the time, Bret Hart was supposed to be leaving for WCW. And according to Vince and everybody else, refused to do the job, refused to put the man over as he went out the door. Well, this all started 18 months earlier at WrestleMania 12, where Bret Hart would drop the World Heavyweight title to Shawn Michaels in a 60-minute Iron Man match. One of the greatest matches in all of WrestleMania history. Before that match, however, Bret Hart was asked by Vince McMahon if he had a problem putting Michaels over for the title. According to Hart, he told Vince no, he didn't have a problem, even though Shawn Michaels had a lot of heat backstage and was really cocky and arrogant, and it upset the boys. Bret didn't feel it was a problem, and he felt Shawn had earned the belt. At one point, friends, but now rivals for the promotion's top spot, Bret claims he told Shawn he had no problem doing the job for Michaels. Michaels responded that he would not do the same for Bret. After the loss to Shawn at WrestleMania 12, Bret Hart took some time off. Went on to start filming a TV series called Lonesome Dove. TV show. While Hart was away, his contract was coming to an end. Now, this is a pivotal point because at this time, WCW Nitro had already signed away Lex Luger, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and before that, it was Hogan, Macho Man. So, Hall and Nash had both debuted while Bret had been off filming this TV show. So at this point, Bret wondered what offer WCW would make him with his contract expiring for the WWF. They offered him a $3 million a year for 3 years. However, Hart didn't want to leave the WWF. So he worked out a 20-year deal with Vince McMahon where for the first couple years he would be a top star, then a guy putting other guys over, and then just like a special attraction, and then eventually going to work in the office. So when Hart returned to wrestling, he made his big announcement on Monday Night Raw. I can remember this episode like it was yesterday. Everybody was wondering if Hart was going to leave or if he wasn't going to leave, if he was going to WCW. And Bret showed up, from what I have gathered from sources, right before Raw started. Nobody knew until about an hour beforehand whether he was going to actually stay with WWF or go to WCW. However, Hart worked out the 20-year deal with Vince and decided to stay with the company. So he made the announcement live on Raw. Before he signed the contract, however, he asked Vince what he would be doing for the next couple years. And Vince had told him that Shawn would put him over for the belt and they could battle back and forth for a while. And so Bret was anxious for this and thought he was coming back to get back to the feud with Shawn. However, though, the WWF at the time was going in a more edgier direction. And before Shawn could drop the belt to Bret, he had a knee injury. This is that infamous "I lost my smile" promo. And the reason this caused a lot of friction was because a lot of the people in the back didn't believe Michaels was really injured. They believed the previous comment that he had made to Bret, "I wouldn't do the same for you." And along with Hart felt the same way, I think. So everybody thought Michaels faked the injury to kind of get out of dropping the belt back to Bret. So Shawn was hurt. Bret then went on later that month to win the vacant title at the In Your House Fatal 4-Way event. However, the very next night, he lost the belt to Sid Vicious. WrestleMania 13 is coming up. Shawn Michaels sets out WrestleMania 13. The Undertaker defeated Sid for the title. Bret Hart faced off with Stone Cold Steve Austin in one of the absolutely most amazing matches in company history. They pulled off an amazing double turn. For those of you who don't know what that is, Bret Hart went into the match as a face, a good guy. Stone Cold went in as the antagonist, the villain, the bad guy. Somehow, with the emotions in this match, during the middle of this match, they switched it. And Austin was the good guy, and Bret was the bad guy. Now, this match ended with Austin passing out in the sharpshooter, the blood running down his face. It made Stone Cold's career. Bret went over. They did the double turn. Bret would be a bad guy here in the United States, but a hero in Canada and overseas, which this was kind of groundbreaking. They had the Canadian Stampede, all those things. It was just groundbreaking time in wrestling history. If you remember, it was nuts to see the Canadian fans boo the American wrestlers and the American fans boo the Canadians. It was absolutely great. Hart would defeat The Undertaker at SummerSlam that year for the heavyweight title. SummerSlam Heart and Soul, 1997. However, after winning the championship at SummerSlam on September 22nd, 1997, at Monday Night Raw in Madison Square Garden, Vince told Bret that he could not afford to honor his contract. So Bret should try to get his deal back with WCW. And there was a couple things that led up to this. There was the infamous Sunny Days promo where him and Michaels had also been in a backstage altercation where Bret ripped Shawn's hair out. But then it brings us to September 22nd. Bret is devastated because he don't want to leave the WWE. So Vince tells Bret that he should probably try to get the WCW deal that he was previously offered 18 months earlier. Vince even says he will try to negotiate with Eric Bischoff on Bret's behalf. Bret did not think that was wise. Now, while all this is going on, Bret is filming a notorious wrestling documentary called Wrestling with Shadows. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I just watched it. It's amazing. In doing all this research and learning about all this, I went back and listened to numerous podcasts, watched multiple documentaries. Wrestling with Shadows is amazing. You should check it out. Hart did end up landing the deal with WCW, but was still champion. So this created a problem. Now, Hart had until a month after the Survivor Series. So leading up to this, they were at the Covert Hall. They could have took the title off of him there. They didn't. Vince really felt like Hart needed to put Michaels over. And not just put Michaels over, but put him over in Montreal in Canada. Hart, though, when he renegotiated his deal, he had a clause put in that during the last 90 days of his contract on exiting the company, he would have reasonable creative control. So this was no good for Hart. Hart was saying, look, I'm a hero in Canada. It could hurt my fan base. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to lose to Michaels like that. So anyway, they go back and forth for a week. As the story goes, it's asked of multiple people. According to everybody, Vince Russo says it was his idea. Cornette says it's his idea, and I would probably believe Cornette. Then Gerald Briscoe, it goes on, the list goes on and on. But as the week leads up to the show, from what I can gather, Bret thinks it's going to be a smosh finish. And the Bulldog and Davey Boy Smith and Owen Hart's going to run in. It's going to be a smosh, and he'll then lose to somebody else, anybody else. He said he would even lose to the Brooklyn Brawler the next night on Raw. So he'll lose the title and down the road. He's still got 30-some days before going to WCW. But instead, Vince wants Hart to do business. I'm sure there was a lot of people in his ear telling him Hart should do business. So Vince, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Gerald Briscoe come up with a plan. They had to get Earl in on it. Earl Hebner, the referee. If they didn't, it wouldn't work. I was told, well, what I've gathered is they went right before and told Earl, and Earl agreed to ring the bell when the sharpshooter reversal had in. They even kind of played Pat Patterson into convincing Vince to do the sharpshooter reversal part. They screwed Bret. Famously, Bruce Pritchard says he didn't know. He was watching it guerrilla, the Bulldogs there. And Bruce says, what happened? They fucked him. They fucked Bret. It's kind of famous. It's pretty good. This had major effects on wrestling. The Mr. McMahon character was born, the Attitude Era. Bret Hart went to WCW, got kicked. Maybe the Owen thing might not have happened if Bret would have still been there. Also on that night, on the same card, on the Survivor Series card, Austin come back from his broken neck injury to defeat Owen Hart for the Intercontinental title. Kane versus Mankind. Kane went over. There's an amazing spot where Kane throws Mankind off the apron through the announce table, and then another one off the top to the floor. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's really overshadowed by the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels incident, but just go check it out. And as far as the screw job goes, I have my own feelings. I feel like I think they was going to send Bret to WCW for 3 years. I think it was all work until Bret went down there and got hurt. My personal self, I could be wrong, but even Kevin Nash still to this day holds up that he believes it's a work. Then we go to 1998. Brawl at the Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas. Undertaker versus X-Pac. It was a no contest because Kane intruded in the match and infamously threw the fireball into X-Pac's face. This was to advance Kane and Undertaker storyline going into the 1998 Survivor Series. 2002, Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza. The Murphy Recreation Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The main event was Masato Tanaka and another star from 0-1 versus Low-Key and Steve Corino. Jay Briscoe versus The Amazing Red. And then there was Colt Cabana and CM Punk promos. 2008, another big day for wrestling. TNA Turning Point live from the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. Now, this was an interesting match. We had Kevin Nash defeating Samoa Joe. There was a 10-man X Division elimination match, which Eric Young won. Also, there was a World Heavyweight Championship match, the main event. Sting defeated AJ Styles to retain the title. But that main event is not what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the Falls Count Anywhere in the Building, Kurt Angle versus Abyss. This match was tremendous. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to see it. This is the one where, if you remember watching the old episodes of TNA, at the beginning, they would have Angle running across the stage and he would do a somersault onto Abyss. This is that match. Amazing match. I can't say enough good things about it. You should definitely go check it out. November 2016, NXT. We got Ember Moon defeating Rachel Evers. Shinsuke Nakamura confronted his challenger Samoa Joe and sent a strong message before their title match. And then in the Dusty Rhodes Classic, we had DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano defeating the Revival, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson. 2019, AEW Full Gear, Baltimore, Maryland. We had the pre-show buy-in. You got Dr. Britt Baker defeating Bea Priestley by submission. Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz defeated the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson by pinfall. Hangman Adam Page defeated Pac. SoCal Uncensored, Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky defeated the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix. Private Party in a three-way triple threat match to retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Chris Jericho defeated Cody Rhodes to retain the AEW Championship. Now, this is the match where MJF throws the towel in on Cody, and Cody wins. So it also leads to the dissension between Cody and MJF. If you haven't seen it, it's a great match. Go check it out. Then, of course, you got the brutal unsanctioned match to finish the show up. Jon Moxley went over Kenny Omega in it. It was amazing. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Last but definitely not least, we got Monday Night Raw 2020. We had a qualifier match for the Survivor Series, Team Raw. Riddle defeated Jeff Hardy and Elias in a triple threat to earn that final spot. We had a non-title match. Asuka defeated Nia Jax via disqualification. Mustafa Ali defeated Ricochet by submission. And then for the main event, we had a 6-man tag team match. Drew McIntyre and the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, defeated the WWE champion, Randy Orton, and The Miz and Morrison. And fellas, that has been our day in wrestling history. As always, thank you for joining me. I'm Pops. As always, all praise to God. Thank you for your support. Like, share, and subscribe.